Hey everyone, I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
And this is your Horror Show News. Our top story today has to do with Halloween Horror Nights Universal. They've finally revealed what 2015's park is going to look like. Universal Studios every Halloween season converts their park every night from mid-September all the way through Halloween time and turns it into a horror fan's paradise. The entire park is converted. They put up about 6 different mazes, and I, for one, am super excited about it. So let's start off with the scare zones. And if you're not aware, in between the different mazes, as you walk, you're confronted with different types of horror people. Just as you're walking around, you don't have to be in a maze. You're gonna get scared no matter what. So this year's scare zones are as follows. First off, we have exterminators with a Z. I don't know who names these things, but basically what they're doing is they're creating creatures that are half man, half insects that are just going to be wandering this area of the park and scaring random people just walking around trying to have a good time. That should be fun. Another one is called Corpse, also with a Z. Not really sure why they do this. This is going to be World War I soldiers zombified. They've risen from their graves looking to terrorize everyone walking around. The third one is The Purge. So as you're walking through this particular section of the park, people in masks with weapons are going to be chasing you around, whether you want them to or not. And then finally, the last one is going to be Dark Christmas. Dark Christmas is Krampus themed. So that very evil Santa Claus character that likes to kidnap children, he is the focus of this 4th scare zone. So be careful what you wish for. You don't want to make his list, I'm telling you. In past years, the Terror Tram has been themed with various different things. When I went one year, it was Chucky themed, so Chucky was the one on the video monitor leading the tour. That was interesting enough, but this year, the Terror Tram is Purge focused as well. It's called Survive the Purge. They'll take you through the usual tram ride at Universal Studios. The tram is fun no matter what, but when you have people banging on the side of the tram with weapons, it's a little bit more unnerving. And finally, the last part of Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood this year are the 6 brand new mazes that they're doing. The mazes this year are going to include Crimson Peak, based on the upcoming Guillermo del Toro horror vehicle that looks really awesome. They're going to be doing an Alien vs. Predator maze, which will definitely be fun. They're going to do a 3D maze, which they always have at least one every year, that is themed in the vein of This Is the End, which is surprising considering it was more of a comedy, end of the world type thing with Seth Rogen and Craig Robinson and Jay Baruchel and that whole crew of guys. They made a movie about it, and basically this maze is you're attending a party at James Franco's house when things start to go bad. So that'll be definitely interesting. They're also doing an Insidious maze, which personally I'm super excited about because I love the Insidious movies. If you haven't checked it out yet, listen to some of our podcasts, specifically one where Marsha Parker and I talk about Insidious 3. That was an extremely fun experience for us at the theaters. The 5th maze is called The Walking Dead Wolves Not Far. Now, if you're into The Walking Dead TV show, the 5th season had some zombies with a W carved in their forehead. That means the wolves are coming. That was interesting enough, but I'm definitely more excited to see what happens in the maze than anything else. And finally, the 6th maze is Halloween Michael Myers Comes Home, where they're gonna recreate the house from the original Halloween movies and populate it with probably numerous different Michael Myerses. And they'll be popping out at you, chasing you with butcher knives, all kinds of good stuff. And for any horror fan out there, you know what kind of fun that could be. So if you have a chance, make sure you get out to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios California 2015. It's sure to be an absolute blast.
With all the different actors that have played Michael Myers, I must admit, that kind of makes sense if they would have all those different incarnations of him. And,
naturally, multiple Michaels.
Totally, yeah. And with all those Z's, I'm curious if World War Z is a,
I think that's
property.
probably where they got corpses from,
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. All the scare zones tend to be really fun, so I'm excited.
And then our next story, which does not involve zombies, but another notorious character in the industry of horror. This is vampires we're talking here. That's right. And it is about Blade potentially returning to the silver screen for a 4th incarnation. There is a new Blade series that is going to be coming from Marvel Entertainment Comics, and it was delayed, according to Bleeding Cool, for the sheer fact that they want to coincide with the announcement of a new Blade film, which is going to center on a daughter who is also a vampire hunter, and with, the popularity of characters like Buffy and other female vampire hunters, it really seems to make sense to put some emphasis upon her. The original films, in the first, there was Stephen Dorff as one of the best villains I've seen in a Marvel film, and then there was also the second film, which was directed by Guillermo del Toro. The third, while forgettable, was still solid in the series, and we would be very happy here at the Horror Show to actually have another incarnation of this character put on the big screen for us.
And speaking of sequelitis, our next story has to do with a video game sequel headed up by American McGee, which we hope gets made here at the Horror Show. He wants to make a third in the Alice series. He made Alice and Alice the Madness Returns not too long ago, where basically the story centers on Alice in Wonderland in a horror Wonderland landscape. And both games Jaime and I played, they were excellent and most fun, so we'd love to see another in this series. Now, American McGee has endorsed a petition that a fan has created, which now has over 18,000 signatures, saying that EA should allow him to create another in the Alice series. Now, McGee states, and I quote, "My thinking is that the original Alice was in a group of early 3D games that really showed the world how art and games could interact to create something really beautiful. It was artistically cutting edge in that way. Alice is about a subtle mix of action, horror, adventure, puzzles, and story. We almost got it right with the last game. I'd certainly be taking lessons from previous experience to get that mix right with a new game." He even states that he believes that the third Alice game would be perfect to present in a virtual reality landscape, whether it be Oculus Rift or any of the other new devices that are in development currently, which personally I'm excited to see these hit the market. Here's hoping that EA allows him to go ahead and put his creative works into the delightfully dreary game that is Alice.
Yeah, and third time would most definitely be the charm, because the first was great, second was even better, and
who knows what levels they could reach with part 3.
Indeed, I have high hopes. And then our final story of the day, Adi Shankar, who is most notably known for everything from the Dread film to the Punisher, Dirty Laundry, and he also most notably recently did the Dark Power Rangers reimagination of the characters. He is actually planning to pair with Fred Krieger and with Kevin Klond, who are most notably known for Adventure Time, and make an animated, ultra-violent, as he has described it, version of the Castlevania video game. He is going to be focusing upon the third video game in the series, which was on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and really upped the gameplay of the series to incorporate multiple characters, to have a non-linear storyline, branching paths. It was revolutionary at its time, and it actually brought the series to a new level. Ironically enough, Castlevania has never been adapted for either television or for the feature film scene, with the exception of the Captain N of the Nintendo variety, where he had Mega Man and a very arrogant Simon Belmont as the, hero team of sorts. And Trevor Belmont was one of the first to wield that whip against the forces of Dracula and, of course, the Big Biter himself. So getting to finally see this character on the smaller screen in a series, a mini-series as is planned, is going to be much better than, the lack of coverage that we have had from a feature film that was originally supposed to be brought to the silver screen by Paul W.S. Anderson, and then later on James Wan, and yet the 2009 writer's strike derailed this project inevitably, and it was eventually canceled. So let's hope, with fingers firmly crossed, that we are finally going to get to see, albeit in an animated form, we will finally get to see the Belmont clan take on Dracula in a proper visual form. Exactly right. Whiplash.
And that will bring us to our editorial section. So let's start off with the Castlevania series. Now, I would definitely be excited to see this because, as you said, we have not seen Castlevania brought to the screen in any way, shape, or form besides the video games. But yeah, Castlevania is a beloved franchise. Most people go back to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which was, I believe, for the PlayStation.
Exactly, where you got to play as Alucard, who was originally in Castlevania 3.
Exactly, and I actually played the Castlevania games all the way up to a Nintendo 64 iteration, which was a 3D one. Exactly, which was not great. But the side-scrolling ones are always awesome, so
That's why they've gone back to the
part 3, exactly. So hopefully, and the fact that they're saying uber violent, is that what it was?
Yep, super violent, ultra
violent, ultra violent,
like
whatever it is, as long as it's violent and it's Castlevania and it's Belmont versus Dracula, then it's going to be really awesome. I'm super excited about that.
It's going to be super rad. And let's get into another video game topic. Well, that one may be for the screen. This one is for playability's sake. We've got Alice and a third incarnation of a series that, oh my goodness, how I love so very much. My ex-girlfriend used to cosplay as that damn Alice, for God's sake.
It was an excellent game series. A lot of people, had their problems with the second one, and it wasn't without its faults. There were a couple of little programming hiccups here and there that led to some glitches or whatever, but the story was still a lot of fun. The music is always really cool. Whenever American McGee puts his touch on these kind of games, it's just a trip to go into this world as he's created it. Wonderland in a completely new way with
so grotesque and so graphic, and it's the original 3D platformer that I always look back to because it was supposed to be adapted into a film at one point, and that never transpired, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I just have fond memories of getting so aggravated by not finishing that first game.
Absolutely, yeah, those games are phenomenal, so I am super excited, and hopefully the petition will make EA want to let American McGee make a third in the series.
Fingers firmly crossed.
And speaking of multiple series, as we did before, not a third one, but a fourth in the Blade series is going to be coming around, and you said that Wesley Snipes is supposedly going to return?
He is supposedly going to return. He even made mention of it at this past San Diego Comic-Con, saying, oh yeah, Marvel has had talks with me. This is going to be happening. He's just waiting for details. And, obviously actors like him who have been out of work for a little while.
Or in jail.
They may be, even worse for him, they may be clinging to those sort of hopes. But I don't think at this point, Bleeding Cool is a pretty reputable source for news, especially in the comic variety. And they said that they delayed that one with his daughter because they're trying to get all their ducks in a row to make a serious push at another film where it'll be more like a fatherly character.
Yeah.
So,
well, that'd be interesting to see because, you assume that if Blade comes back in a new incarnation and he has a daughter that supposedly he's grooming to take over the reins, he'll probably go down in the movie at some point, and that'll be interesting to see.
I don't want to see it happen, just like everyone's rumoring Han Solo's gonna die in this new one where his kids are supposed to be in it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's only so long that Wesley Snipes can play the character, considering that he's not supposed to really age that much, being half a vampire
this
and all that.
This actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder for my co-host.
So it'll be nice to see a female vampire hunter take over, and I'm assuming that she would have all of the Daywalker's abilities, considering she's Blade's daughter. I think that makes
way
her
more rad than Kendra from Buffy, I mean.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the thing. She'd still be a Daywalker because she'd be, I guess, a quarter vampire and mostly human at that point. I don't know exactly how that would work, but either way, it'll be a fun thing to see happen. And that's going to bring us to our leadoff story, which is Halloween Horror Nights Universal Hollywood. Now, I've gone to Halloween Horror Nights twice in the past. It was an extremely fun experience, which is why I wanted to make sure and report on it for this year, because it always takes them a while before they actually reveal what the park is going to entail. Universal Studios Orlando has revealed their Halloween Horror Nights actually probably a month or more back.
I'm flailing my hands up because I've never experienced them, and I'm angry about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll be able to drag Jaime along, but if not, I believe Marsha Parker and I will be able to go and possibly get some coverage this year. And even if not get coverage, we're going to experience it. We'll be able to come back and podcast about it, so you guys will be able to hear. The fact that Halloween Horror Nights is being done by Hollywood itself, the effects are always phenomenal. They always have movie tie-ins, i.e. AVP, or Halloween, or The Purge. There's a lot of different ones that they're going with, and they put the money into the effects where other haunted houses can't. And not only that, but when you're walking from house to house, the scare zones that I mentioned, you have to run the gauntlet to get to the mazes. So for any horror fan, it's a phenomenal good time. Now, Jaime,
you have to buck up and brave up, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Why haven't you gone yet?
I haven't gone. Well, it's probably the dinero factor, and Hollywood studios want more and more money from us from tickets, let alone going to tour their studios
True
and
enough.
Stuff like that.
I have investigated ticket prices, and they are not cheap.
Yes,
but
I'm sure,
they are
I'm just
worth
talking
it.
Ticket prices for films alone, let alone going to tour the theme parks. But if it's for big budget, high caliber, quality stuff, it's probably worth the price.
It's money well spent, you guys. So check out Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2015 and go. Maybe we'll see you there. But for this episode of the Horror Show News, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, Stay scared.